I'm at Tian Tan, the Temple of Heaven. It's got a gold knob and blue roof tiles. They say it's prone to lightning strikes. I didn't read anything about whether it's been burned down over the years. I assume they may have had to reconstruct it since this complex dates back to the Ming. You have to queue up if you want to stick your head in the center there to get a view of the interior. But my guidebook has some pictures I can show you. Let's see, I see an opening here. Can I take it? That's not so bright. Yesterday was overcast, so polluted that the sun was blocked. I didn't have to use an umbrella. And today's Saturday, this is probably one of the more crowded days to come. The crowds thin out in September, but one thing I did want to read here is about Yuan Shikai. Chiang Kai-shek was declared the provisional president of the Republic of China in 1912, but I think this is the warlord that forced him to abdicate the presidency. He wanted to install himself as a new emperor post-Qing and start a new dynasty. And he came here to the temple to do rites, putting him on a path to become emperor. 1915, first step becoming emperor. Arrived in an armored car, so it wasn't very solemn. And supporters brought to the halt the march. Yeah, so he was dead by June of 1916. Foreign opposition, supporters revolted. So then China enters into periods of civil war and Japanese occupation until 1949 when the PRC is founded. This whole complex was used as a communication between, that's the first hall, the northern gate, which you have to walk around and come in the side entrance to this complex. The emperor would serve as the intermediary between the gods and the people of China. So most of the stuff here has to do with preying on harvests and that kind of stuff, since they were an agrarian, even semi-feudal state up through the Qing. There's a lot of potent imagery. Mountain clouds with dragons and phoenixes. These are the phoenixes, symbol of the Empress. Dragons are the symbol of the Emperor. Let's see. Hall for Prayer Good Harvest. Built 1420. 18th year of Emperor Yonggle's reign, Ming Dynasty. The original hall, rectangular in shape, was first named the Great Hall for sacrificial rituals used to worship both heaven and earth. Rebuilt in 1545. Okay. 24th year of Emperor Beijing's reign. So that's when it was rebuilt. In a round hall with triple eave roof, each covered with blue, yellow, green glazed tiles, respectively, symbolizing heaven, earth, mortal world. It was renamed Great Hall. For offering sacrifices, it was reconstructed again, 1751. Qianlong reign. It was surmounted by a triple roof with azure glazed tiles only, culminating in gilded sphere. Designated hall for prayer good harvest, exclusively used to pray for good harvest in early spring, January. 38.2 meters in height and 24.2 meters in diameter. The hall is supported by immense pillars symbolizing the 4 seasons, the 12 months of the year, the 12 time divisions of the day and night, and all the constellations. It is the only existing example of ancient architectural style of Mingdang. So the style is Mingdang. Can enter from the west side as well, I guess. On the east side. I came on the west side. So now we're on the east side. Let's see, I see a sign over here. My through ticket, man, I didn't have to buy a second ticket to come in here. But I guess some people, it's only 35 yen for the whole thing. Stone pillar bases of the shed of sacrifice track. After the sacrifices for worshipping heaven ceremony were well prepared in the divine kitchen, they would be carried to the hall of prayer for good harvest through the long corridor. At ancient times, the shed of sacrifice track led to the hall of prayer for a good harvest, built inside the east brick gate. There are stone pillar bases of the shed of sacrifice track. Looks like they have a set of modern steps over here on the east side. Came up the back side there, so I'll turn around and go in the side temple here. A little overwhelming to try to work from the guidebook and read what it says, and then there are descriptions here. I didn't do the audio guide, it would have gotten crazy. And from my experience with the audio guides, maybe it's better here, along the lines of the audio guide at Forbidden City. But usually the audio guides I've gotten don't tell you any more than what you are already reading in English on the sign. And you're like, why did I get this audio guide? This is the East Annex Hall, constructed in 1420, 18th year, Yongle reign from the Ming. Original layout was composed 2 rows of halls. Front hall was 9 rooms wide. Rear hall 7 rooms. 1751 during Qing. Emperor Qianlong had the rear hall removed owing to its disorderly arrangement. The remaining front hall was used to house and worship the divine tablets of attendant gods. So we saw in the north temple tablets for the ancestors, so they had tablets here for the gods. Hall of Prayer for Good Harvest, largest rounded wooden ancient building that exists in China, which adopts the Chinese tradition of wood construction technique. The luxuriant hall is really a feat that required a high level of craftsmanship, majestic in height, and of great magnificence. The numerical logic contained in the hall happen to be identical with the time concept of Chinese lunar calendar, which reflects the astronomical thoughts and construction perception of ancient Chinese people and suggests the hall is a perfect combination of etiquette and the art of space-time in the building. It's a traditional Chinese architectural model which is famous for its beautiful art, plastic, unique bridge structure, exquisite construction process, delicate adornment, and rich cultural implications. The Temple of Heaven was a holy hall where the emperor of the Ming and Qing dynasties held the ceremonies of worshipping heaven and praying for bumper harvest during every first lunar month. The hall stands for Chinese ancients' beautiful dream for a bumper grain harvest and their pursuit of happiness. Life. It's a landmark building symbolizing Chinese splendid history and culture. The dancing of sacrifice to heaven in ancient China. Historical evolution of the imperial sacrifice building complex. Archaeological site of the Dongshan Zui. Full views of the Dongshan Zui site. Round and square jade excavated from New Heliang archaeological site. Imperial court of the Ming Huangdi Yellow Emperor. Western Zhou, Eastern Han. Western, let's see, Wanxiang Shrine of Tang Dynasty. So these are all the different types of buildings, huh? Huangdi, the Yellow Emperor. Let me put my guidebook away so I can walk through the exhibit. Oi. The Hongshan culture. Doesn't say where they're from though. I should remember the Hongshan culture's come up before. Extracts annotation of White Tiger's statement. Jade Emperor. I went to a nice park when I was in Hangzhou, down by the river, and they had all the different types of pagodas from around China in miniature. It showed you how, as the stupa, which is a Buddhist religious structure, came through China, through Asia, past all the way to Japan, and transformed from a stupa to a pagoda and became less of a religious thing and more of a architectural feature that moved from the back of the temple to the front of the temple, then as a standalone edifice. Picture a great sacrifice hall. Great enjoyment hall, Code of Ming. Related records in the Code of Ming. Great enjoyment hall. Ming Tang of the Huangdi Yellow Emperor. Ming Tang of the Western Zhou Dynasty. Ming Tang of the Eastern Han Dynasty. Wanjiang Shrine of the Tang. Great Sacrifice Hall. Architecture of the Hall of Prayer for Good Harvests. Imperial Poet, Ode to the Altar of Praying for Grain. Emperor Kangxi, Plaque of the Hall of Prayer for Good Harvests. Extracts of Imperial Poet of Emperor Qianlong. Imperial Edict of changing the name of the Great Enjoyment Hall issued by Emperor Qianlong. Beam structure. Architectural connotation. The Hall of Prayer for Good Harvest is an exemplification of Imperial Court Ming Tang. Algae well, roof beam structure, corbel bracket of inner and outer eaves. Colored drawing of the Hall of Prayer for Good Harvests. Ancient writings of the word year, architectural color. Ceremonies of praying for grain of Ming and Qing dynasty. Protocol of the ceremonies of praying for grain of the Ming dynasty. Extracts of the Code of the Ming. Honor guard of praying for grain. Dancing of praying for grain ceremonies. Painting of guards of honor Lubu. Center tablet in the Hall of Prayer for Good Harvest. Side tablet in the Hall of Prayer for Good Harvest. 5 sacrificial utensils pavilion. Dragon Pavilion, Wish Tablets Pavilion, Dragon Phoenix Stone inside the hall. Protocol of the ceremonies of praying for grain of Qing dynasty. Extracts of the Code of Qing. Extracts of the regulations of Tai Chang Temple of Qing. Important events, reconstruction of the Great Enjoyment Hall, Emperor Beijing. Extracts of the Yang and Note. Extracts of the records of Qing Dynasty, Hall of Prayer for Good Harvest, ruined by lightning. Modus operandi of the Hall of Prayer for Good Harvest, repair project, Qing Dynasty, photomechanical printing. Constitution of the Temple of Heaven, group photo of the Constitution Draft Committee, picture of Song Jiaoren, picture of Xu Jingxin, commemorative stamp about Constitution, the Suffering 8-Nation Alliance invasion, Boxer Rebellion, Army of 8-Nation Alliance in the Hall of Prayer for Good Harvests. British Army's General Headquarters in the Hall of Prayer for Good Harvest. Hall of Prayer for Good Harvest, 1900. Gilded Bronze Chime Bell. Hall of Prayer for Good Harvest, conquered by KMT Army. Met Chiang Kai-shek suffering. 31 to 45 Japanese invasion, 1937. Japan's military aircrafts over Hall of Prayer for Good Harvest. Japanese forces in the Hall of Prayer for Good Harvest. Chinese Civil War. Hall of Prayer for Good Harvest was conquered by KMT Army. Extract records report of ruin of Hall of Prayer for Good Harvest. Report of the military's destruction. All previous repairs. Old pictures of the Hall of Prayer for Good Harvest. Picture of the Hall of Prayer for Good Harvest before it was ruined by lightning in 1889. Picture of the Hall of Prayer for Good Harvest during the Republic of China period. Pictures of the Hall of Prayer for Good Harvest before and after it was repaired in 1897. Picture of repair roof crown 1897. Picture of Hall of Prayer for Good Harvest 1900. Picture of Hall of Prayer for Good Harvest 1940s. Picture of Stephen, a former American Army attaché in Beijing, taken with the Hall of Prayer for Good Harvest 1947. Picture of the Hall of Prayer for Good Harvest 1973. Panorama of the Hall of Prayer for Good Harvest in the 1980s. Picture of the Hall of Prayer for Good Harvest after it was repaired in 2006. Group photo of Liang Xisheng and Lin Huayin. Roof of the Hall of Good Prayer for Harvests. Wooden plate of repairing the Hall of Prayer for Good Harvest by Jai Tai Company. Repairing the Hall, 1935. Repairing the Hall, 1935. Repairing records. Gold gift, gold gilt set bells of the Ming Dynasty. Pictures and records repairing the hall, 1971. So I was wondering when it was last reconstruction. Report repairs, 1950s. Glazed tiles in the reign of Emperor Qianlong. Brick of the Ming Dynasty. Repairing the hall, 2005. Had it all wrapped up. Copper nails for fixing roof tile. The white marble baluster decorated with dragons. Glazed architectural components. Wooden plate of repairing the Hall of Prayer for Good Harvest by Jai Company. Gold brick. Preparing the construction of the Hall of Prayer for Good Harvest. Covering the gold brick. Cultural activities, 2008 Beijing Olympics. Torch acquisition ceremony, Paralympics. Marathon. So have the marathon go by it. Torch relay. I would never run a marathon in this polluted environment. Chairman Mao, some PLA commanders, democracy activists. 1949. Torch acquisition ceremony, 16th Asian Games, 2010. President Hu Jintao. Torch acquisition ceremony, Beijing Paralympic Games 2008. Postscript. Masterpiece of Chinese ancient wooden architecture known as perfect combination of Chinese ancient architectural technology and art. UNESCO World Heritage, 1998. Temple of Heaven is a masterpiece. La la la. Evolution. Cosmogony. More than 2,000 years. Feudal dynasties. Legitimacy which symbolized by design and layout of the Temple of Heaven. So if you want to keep peasant farmers under your thumb, you can create a symmetrical temple complex and set yourself up as the shaman to interpret it. Interface with the gods. Them gods. You want to eat this winter? Well then, you need to carry me in a gold palanquin across town in the middle of the night with 5,000 of my friends. And then I'm gonna burn a little incense, a little kowtow. And then, my friend, we're gonna party. Stop all the trains. We going to party. You know, the original idea of the Indian stupa is like, I don't know, in a billion years, the earth is gonna melt. And so you gotta protect the sutras. First they just buried them in a mound, then the mound became a stupa, and the stupa became a pagoda as it moved across Asia. You still see stupas sometimes here in Asia, East Asia. That white dagoba thing's kind of like a stupa. Let's see, I forgot to read the sign out front here. This is West Annex Hall. The West Annex Hall, constructed 1420. Original layout composed of 2 rows of halls. The front hall with a width, a 9-room space, and the rear one with a width of 7. And it is the same thing across the way. Chain long. Redid it. Looks fun. Smash. The history of worshiping heaven goes back to ancient times. Small porcelain plate, looks like Ming. Jade flat disc, I guess that would be a B. New Stone Age ruins. This is Neolithic. There's a B and a song or Kong. The Kong has a round inside and a square outside. It's a cylinder. Here's some pendants. Made of jade. Bronze container for grain. $1600 to $425. Emperor's robe. Characters carved on the ox bones of Shang Dynasty. These are oracle bones. The cracks would indicate soothsaying along which passages of the characters they cracked along when they burnt the shoulder blade, the oracle bone. Appliances used in ceremonial rites of Zhou Dynasty, Qin Han Dynasties, 221 BC to 220 AD. Bronze container for food. This would be like a ding. Picture of Liu Bang sacrificing Confucius. To Confucius? Qin Shui Hong, Taishan Mountain. We learned about that over at the Confucius Temple. North side of town, Tang and Song Dynasty, 618 to 1278. Emperor Li Longji, Tang Dynasty. Inscription on a large stone on top of Taishan Mountain. Bronze container for wine. Ming Emperor's Guard of Honor for worshipping heaven, 1367. Li Shanchang, Emperor Yang of the Ming Dynasty, Emperor Jiaqing of Ming Dynasty, Xi'an. Bronze container for vegetables. Chronological table of Ming Emperor sacrificing the Temple of Heaven. Emperor Shunji of Qing Dynasty. Main position display in the Hall of Prayer for Good Harvests. Pictures of worshiping heaven at Qing Dynasty. Porcelain plate, early Ming Dynasty. Picture of worshipping heaven at Qing Dynasty. Chronological table of Qing Emperor sacrificing the Temple of Heaven. Bronze container for grain. Qing Emperor's Guard of Honor, worshipping heaven. Procedure of worshipping heaven. Pure porcelain Du, a wine vessel, Emperor Guangxu of the Qing. Selection of animal sacrifices. Performances of divine music and dance. To inspect the animal sacrifices, divine kitchen. Bronze statue. Portrait of Wei Zheng, bronze statue to hold a fast card. Hundreds of officials to fast at their own offices. Divine tablet pavilion, read these ceremonial articles. Porcelain cup, Emperor Guangzhou, Qing Dynasty. Gold plate, silver sacrificial basin, the mid-end of the Qing Dynasty. Fasting Palace, Emperor Go-To Fasting Palace. At the midnight to light, ceremonial lamp, huge lantern used. B, watching lantern, lighting lamp used in sacrificial altar. Bamboo container for fruits used in sacrificial rites. To tell the time, timetable pavilion. Emperor go to the sacrificial altar to strike the bell at belfry of the fasting palace, chain long bell, belfry. Porcelain vase, Emperor Guangxu of the Qing Dynasty. To start lighting fire for worshiping heaven. Divine tablet was transferred to sacrificial altar, dragon pavilion. Emperor changed to memorial dress to wait for rituals to begin. Gold-plated silver, round smoke, stove, Emperor Guangxu, late Qing. Little incense, little potpourri. Emperor go to the altar to give a salute to heaven. To perform the divine music, to welcome God of heaven, to put a calf on fire, to bury the sacrifices, hair and blood. The place for burying the sacrifices, hair and blood. Pure blue porcelain, Gui, Emperor Guangzhou. To start performing the specific music. To burn incense stick and to give a salute to heaven and his ancestors. Pavilion used for incenses and silk. Round bamboo basket, silk. To offers a jade to heaven. To offer silk to heaven, to pour hot water on sacrifices. Soup ladle. The first offer of wine to heaven. To read the ceremonial articles, the second offer of wine to heaven, the last offer of wine to heaven. Silver hot water kettles. See the Islamic influence in the design of those. To remove the sacrificial offerings. To take the sacrificial offerings to firewood stove. Emperor watches the sacrificial offerings to burn. Ancient wine vessel made of plant. After the ceremony, hundreds of officials congratulate the emperor on the worshipping of heaven. Emperor issues the imperial edict and the ceremony of worshipping heaven is completed. Porcelain plate, Emperor Guangxu of the Qing. The rite of worshipping heaven in China was carried out from the 25th to 26th century BC to the beginning of the 20th century. The Temple of Heaven was built in 1420, the 18th year of the reign of the Emperor Yongle. The Ming Dynasty was constructed in accordance with the Chinese traditional rite system for the purpose of worshipping heaven. The 22 emperors of the Ming and Qing dynasties worshipped heaven in the Temple of Heaven from 1421, the 19th year of the reign of the Emperor Yongle. This exhibition enables visitors to the Temple of Heaven to have better understanding of the history and culture of the rite of worshipping heaven in ancient China. You know what all that reminded me of? When I was at the 2121 design site in Tokyo, they had an exhibit on rice, which is the major grain for Japan. And they showed a video of during the winter, this guy was out in the field and he brought in some branches to his house, a farmer, and he put them to bed. But it was very much imbued with like animistic Shinto stuff. And he does this little process where he offers food and wine to the branch, but the branch is representative of the god of nature, I guess. The god of growing in nature. A little windy out today, huh? I hate it when it's sunny and windy. So it makes it hard to use the umbrella, but you have to unless you want to have crazy glare like this, you know? The crowds don't help. Fucking annoying. I want to choke myself. More cloud and mountain design here. Bronze knobs on the door, 9x9, 81, auspicious. You see the number 8 being more auspicious in the Cantonese areas of China. When I was down in Hong Kong, made a big deal about the number 8, and 4 was bad. And then 9, I guess, here is the more auspicious number. Phoenixes and dragons. It's the Emperor's script. The central doors are probably just for the god. The Emperor has to go up the side entrance, huh? What do we got over here? Gonna lay down my sword and shield down by the riverside, down by the riverside. They charge like 10 yuan for a bottle of water at these places. It's like 5 times what it should cost. My hostel charges 2 yen. They're still probably making a profit of 1. Doesn't matter because it still ends up being like $1. It's not like being at the airport in New York and paying $3.50 for a bottle of water, which would be like 20 yuan. Firewood stove. The firewood stove is a huge round green glazed brick stove. Before the ceremony of worshipping heaven began, a clearly washed and shaved calf was put on the stove and burned with pine and twig and reed in order to welcome the god of heaven. A ritual of giving a warm welcome to the imperial god by burning firewood. After the ceremony was completed, all the offerings and ceremonial placards and silk scrolls were transferred to the stove with great respect and to be burnt while the emperor stood by watching the process, a ritual called observation of the burning. This is our little tinder box. The Yuli. It's mean glazed. Let's see, is there anything else around here? What are these things? Burn the little kid. Sacrifice the infants. Burning stove. Iron stove for burning the offerings. 8 stoves placed. Here we used to burn offerings placed in front of the tablets of the first 8 generations of Qing emperors worshipped as the accessory deities. I guess they mean ancestor. Gonna lay down my sword and shield down by the riverside, down by the riverside, down by the riverside. I'm gonna lay down my heavy load down by the riverside, down by the riverside, down by the riverside. Preach it. It's spiritual. I gotta sing the old Negro spirituals. Yeah, middle doors for the God of Heaven. The gate of prayer for good harvest. Its main entrance to the hall of prayer, good harvest building with the square roof and a 5-room space wide. The central 3-room space designed to the gate and the building is based on a high terrace surrounded with balustrades. The highest ranking gate system in ancient China. The middle door was at the exclusive disposal of the God of Heaven, while the east one for the emperor and the west one for the officials. It's the original building of the early Ming. Exit stage right. Echo wall, circular mound. Excuse me. So now we're gonna walk down the central raised platform here. What is it, the Red Bridge? Something like that. The confusing thing for me is when something's used so popularly like Tiananmen Square, I don't want to hear the translation, you know, Gate of Heavenly Purity Square. Nah. Just say Tiananmen, I know what it is. Know what it is since I was a little kid. So it's confusing to call it the Gate of Heavenly Purity. And then on top of it, like, the translations from Chinese to English usually are a lot longer than you would normally have a name for something. It just sounds weird. Or you'll see different names for things translated because they kind of mean the same thing, but there's no agreed upon syntax or order name. Like the Tiantan, right? Here called the front gate, Zhongyangmen, the air tower. So we're walking south now down the main axis. Should look it up. There's no shade. God, it's so bright out. I took a bunch of stuff out of my suitcase to save room. When I was in the summer, I've been putting myself for the last year through international travel. I thought I had things down pretty tight when I was traveling around in a van. But just one person in a van, you can get away with packing a lot of extra crap and just buying things as you need it, you know. Planning ahead, it's easier. In the States, we were familiar where there's going to be a Walmart or something. And when you travel internationally, you got to be a little more strategic, and you have to have a lot less stuff. I mean, I had to get myself down to carry-on baggage. If you can get yourself down to carry-on baggage, not just for a trip, but to live your whole life out of, doing pretty good. And so that's what I've done. And in my suitcase, I had some extra stuff, you know, like sunglasses and things like that. And I just got rid of it. And I thought, you know, I haven't worn these in a year. And sunglasses are nice to have if you're doing a lot of driving. If you're staring ahead in the road, you gotta have sunglasses. But if you're, let's do this, walk backwards. If you're just gonna be walking around with the umbrella and you're gonna be inside, outside, inside, outside, and you're taking them off, you don't have anywhere secure to put the sunglasses, it's a fucking hassle. You gotta hang them on your neck, they fall off, they get scratched. Carrying around in a bag, the sunglasses get broken unless you have them in a hard case, and then they take up all this room. You know? And then me, I have trigeminal neuralgia, I can't wear anything. You know, I broke my nose a couple of times, can't wear anything on my face for like more than a few minutes. It kills me. When I was a lifeguard, you know, you're just sitting there anyway. So I used to lift the sunglasses off my ears and pinch them like so they would be on the top of my head, kind of. And that would take the weight too off the bridge of the nose. I kind of hold them with my hand to take the weight off the bridge of the nose. I could never wear Google glasses. I tried it. It was stupid anyway. They need to perfect it. They need a couple more generations for it to be worth it. But I doubt I could wear it anyway, all day long wearing glasses. It's one thing I'm grateful for that I was born with eyes. I don't have to wear glasses. I assume eventually I'll have to get reading glasses, since most people eventually need reading glasses. No way around that. Unless you get LASIK, I guess. Although, my dad got LASIK, and now he has to have reading glasses all the time. But he always had to wear the bifocal glasses, so now he has reading glasses only. And he said that he had to choose whether he wanted the reading glasses or the distance glasses, and he chose to have the distance vision corrected. I guess that's how it worked, maybe. So now he has all these cheap reading glasses that are broken, stored all over the place. Whenever I find one, he's like, yeah, they only cost $1. Meanwhile, when he had to wear glasses for distance, you know, the bifocal ones, he always had them right there in his breast pocket in a little case. Never lost them. Okay, let's read where we are while we're in the gate here. I think I'll start a new video too. I'm at Tian Tan, the Temple of Heaven. It's got a gold knob and blue roof tiles. They say it's prone to lightning strikes. I didn't read anything about whether it's been burned down over the years. I assume they may have had to reconstruct it, since this complex dates back to the Ming. You have to queue up if you want to stick your head in the center there to get a view of the interior. But my guidebook has some pictures I can show you. Let's see, I see an opening here. Can I take it? It's not so bright. Yesterday was overcast, so polluted that the sun was blocked. I didn't have to use an umbrella. And today's Saturday, so it's probably one of the more crowded days to come. The crowds thin out in September, but one thing I did want to read here is about Yuan Shikai. Chiang Kai-shek was declared the provisional president of the Republic of China in 1912. But I think this is the warlord that forced him to abdicate the presidency. He wanted to install himself as a new emperor post-Qing and start a new dynasty. And he came here to the temple to do rites, putting him on a path to become emperor. 1915, first step becoming emperor. Arrived in an armored car, so it wasn't very solemn. And supporters brought to the halt the march. Yeah, so he was dead by June of 1916. Foreign opposition, supporters revolted. So then China enters into periods of There's a lot of potent imagery, mountain clouds with dragons and phoenixes. These are the phoenixes, symbol of the Empress. Dragons are the symbol of the Emperor. Let's see. Hall for Prayer Good Harvest. Built 1420. 18th year of Emperor Yonggle's reign, Ming Dynasty. The original hall, rectangular in shape, was first named the Great Hall for sacrificial rituals used to worship both heaven and earth. Rebuilt in 1545. Okay. 24th year of Emperor Jiajing's reign. So that's when it was rebuilt. In a round hall with triple eave roof, each covered with blue, yellow, green glazed tiles, respectively, symbolizing heaven, earth, mortal world. It was renamed Great Hall. For offering sacrifices, it was reconstructed again, 1751. Qianlong Civil War and Japanese occupation until 1949 when the PRC is founded. This whole complex was used as a communication between, that's the first hall, the northern gate, which you have to walk around and come in the side entrance to this complex. The emperor would serve as the intermediary between the gods and the people of China. So most of the stuff here has to do with preying on harvests and that kind of stuff, since they were an agrarian, even semi-feudal state up through the Qing reign. It was surmounted by a triple roof with azure glazed tiles only, culminating in gilded sphere. Designated hall for prayer good harvest, exclusively used to pray for good harvest in early spring, January. 38.2 meters in height and 24.2 meters in diameter. The hall is supported by immense pillars symbolizing the 4 seasons, the 12 months of the year, the 12 time divisions of the day and night, and all the constellations. It is the only existing example of ancient architectural style of Mingdang. So the style is Mingdang. Can enter from the west side as well, I guess. The one's the east side. I came on the west side. So now we're on the east side. Let's see, I see a sign over here.